Hello, everyone. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm thrilled to be here with Latinx and Gaming's Vice President, Elaine. She's a co-founder of the organization. She's a professional game developer. You design your own games alongside your AAA work. You captain our game jams. In my opinion, there's nothing that you can't do. But let's get started with your journey, Elaine. Can you tell us how you got your start in games and how you got here working with Latinx and Gaming, please?
Sure, of course, Eli. Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here and chat with y'all. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Hmm.
I, if I could start, like it's such a strange path that I
Okay.
found myself here. Not necessarily strange, but it's just like I always tell people, there's multiple ways to get into the industry. There's multiple ways to get
Hmm.
involved, and
Yes, of
mine
course.
just ended up being very academic, which is
Oh.
not necessarily the standard. So I got my bachelor's, I got my master's. My bachelor's was in technology, so it was
Mm.
more like programming oriented.
Okay.
But the master's was in game design, and that didn't come about until my senior year of college when I decided to like apply to
Hmm.
graduate school. I had a very good professor, my only Latino professor in my entire academic career, who really like took me under his wing. And he was like, "Hey, I see a lot of potential in you. Like, I
Yeah.
see you getting into games." And he was the TA for my 101 tech class. So that
Okay.
was like a 300 student class.
Wow.
But he was like a metalhead with like a red beard and like piercings. And I was like, oh, I found my people because I'm like
Yeah.
very much into that stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel seen. Um, and he ended up in the curriculum, he ended up doing all of his courses, and that's kind of like how he saw my potential, how I worked, my work
Mhm.
ethic, and all of that. And
Mhm.
he recommended me to a program that eventually led me to game design. But I always say like representation matters, because if it wasn't for Professor Sanchez, like I would definitely not have joined the games industry. Because it was through him that I kind of got to all the places that I needed to be so that
Okay.
I could enter the games industry. So I always give him all the props for
All
like
the
just
props
opening
there.
that door for me. Yes. But yeah, that's how I got into games. It was through school, through
Hmm.
college. I did not land a job right away. It took about two
Okay.
years before I
Okay.
ended
Wow.
up getting a role. And I went to USC, which is in Los Angeles, big game hub,
Okay.
but it
Yeah.
ended up being that at that moment there was just not something there for me.
Okay.
So I had to move back to the East Coast, be with my family. I was teaching game design and game development for about 2 years. And
Hmm.
then I finally landed my first game design job and I moved back to the West Coast. And it's been that way ever since. So going
Just
on,
all game
mm,
dev.
yes, I'm going on 9 years now, like just professionally being a game designer, working my way up in leadership as
Mm.
mid-level to senior. And hopefully, fingers crossed, as a principal or lead very, very soon so that I could, lead other game designers and guide them through their
Mm.
professional development and their work. And with Latinx and gaming, it was truly, honestly, like serendipitous.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Latinos that necessarily know each other, because we are all scattered all over the world through
Mm.
all these different companies.
And
Um,
countries.
and countries, and it's
Yeah.
hard sometimes to like just form a relationship with somebody, get to really, really know somebody.
Hmm.
So it's not typical, right, to find another Latino or Latina or Latina at your studio. And some
Hmm.
studios are better at that than others.
Hmm.
But the studio that I was at the time, I was the only Latina and like the only woman on the dev team, so I was pretty
Yeah.
isolated. But it was through Game Developers Conference that I kind of got to know a few more Latina folks. And Christina just reached out. We had lunch one day, and this was back in 2017. We had lunch one of the days of Game Developers Conference. At the time, she worked at Twitch, so I got to go to like the
Hmm.
Twitch headquarters, and ate lunch there. And she was like, "Hey, like you're Latina, I'm Latina. Like I see that you care so much about the community.
Yeah.
Do you want to do something about it? Because there's really nothing out there." And I
Yeah.
was like, "What are you thinking? Like, what do you want to do?" And it's like, I don't know. We'll start a group and we'll see how it
How it
goes.
goes.
And that's how it really started. It was very, very grassroots. It was a group of people
Hmm.
that just wanted to do something for the community because they didn't see
Yeah.
something. And we just put ourselves out there, and we sacrifice our time and our energy and all of that,
Of
our
course.
money even,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
get something going. But I don't think any of us in a million years would have thought that it would have turned out to be Latinx in Gaming, a nonprofit org that is recognized, award winning,
yeah,
in the games industry, that people really look to, that people respect.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we would have ever imagined the depth and the breadth
Mm,
of impact that we would have had, just a few years later, truly honestly. So it's definitely a privilege for all of us to keep this going. And we're just happy that we are here, and that we did decide to do it, because it's been so worth it, despite the sacrifices, despite the
the
challenges
time,
that
the
come
energy,
with
yeah,
it. Yeah, absolutely. It's just been so worth it to see people truly find friends, find community, and find the support that they have been looking for
hmm
from the cultural perspective,
yeah,
can make all the difference in somebody's life.
truly.
So yeah.
So I love the if nobody's got us, we got us, and just kind of
Hmm.
collecting and figuring it out yourself. Shout out to our president, Chris, for reaching out to you and getting you on the train too. This conversation, the framework is a little about the future of the company, the future of games. There's a lot of things going on. So is there a goal that you hope that we can, as a team, maybe hit in the next year?
Yes, I mean there are a lot of goals. There's always a lot
Yeah,
of
true.
dreams and like
Mm.
goals that we would like to do. But if we're talking personally, like what does
Yeah,
Elaine want to see out
yeah.
of like
What do you want to
Latinx?
see? Yeah.
I would love for us to support more games being made by Latinos and
Yeah.
Latinas,
hmm
not just in the US, but then in all over Latin America.
hmm
It's hard, of course, because there's
Of
currency
course.
exchanges that are different. There's laws and policies that come into play when it
hmm
comes to like lending money or giving money to different countries from the United States. So there's some challenges involved, but
hmm
I think that there are ways that we can partner with people all over Latin America to provide aid
hmm
to developers specifically that want to create and don't have the means to, or are
Yeah.
stuck because they don't have the financial, like maybe those last,
Means.
like, yes, exactly, the financial means. Maybe it's just the last few thousand that they need to
Yeah.
give the final push to their project. Or even if it's providing like a service, if they need localization, if they need PR and
Translation.
marketing,
Yeah.
trying to figure out like, how do we help them?
hmm
And of course, all of that costs money. So
Yeah.
it's hard as a
hmm
nonprofit because we don't have a money tree that we can just like grab money from. Um, so it's gonna take a lot of prioritization to see
hmm
like what do we really want to do with like any type of financial support that we receive as an org, so that we can give it back out to the people that need it the most.
I agree. I agree. And so if you're a billionaire watching this and you want to support, or a
Yeah.
billionaire, please, get us that cash because we have a lot of programs and we want to devote all this energy and effort. But you're right. The actually helping developers on the ground, that last, ingredient that they need to ship their project could be so helpful. That last little funding. And,
Right.
you mentioned even smaller numbers and that like, 2,000 to 5,000, these not large amounts of money in the grand
Right.
scheme of things can really just make a huge impact on these different studios around
Absolutely.
the globe. So I love hearing that. Um, Speaking about around the globe, it has been one of the hardest years in game development. It'd be silly for me to not, at least address that a little bit because it has been a tougher year. So, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've faced as an organization, and then maybe even speak to the decline in this type of support for other organizations kind of like us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's been a very hard year with layoffs and just the state of the industry, studios getting
hmm
shut down, so projects um not getting to see the light of day. And
hmm
devs just looking for jobs, right? So it's been tough. And the
Yeah.
way that that has impacted us as an organization is the fact that when studios downsize, when budgets get cut, usually
hmm
the first thing that gets cut is anything that goes towards charity, right?
hmm
Anything that
hmm
is going to be given to external means. And of
Nonprofit.
course, that's
Yeah.
valid. Yes,
Yeah.
and
Of
that's
course.
valid, right? We understand that. But yes, that means that a lot of different partners and sponsors who would have partnered with us for 2024 were not able to. And
Hmm.
therefore, our fund pool got very, very small. So that means less programs, less funds
Hmm.
that we can give to the community, and certain decisions that have to be made by the team to not pay certain people because we couldn't afford to have
Hmm.
a contractor for something specific, or we couldn't afford to pay some of the staff for their time and their energy and work,
Hmm.
just because we didn't have the means. And that's okay. We all understood that. We understand the lay of the land, and
Yeah.
we don't do the work that we do to get paid. We do it because out of love we have for the
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
and the fact that we want to do good, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's how it has impacted us. And of course, there's a lot of controversies and things that have happened as well in the
Hmm.
past year in the industry around DEI specifically,
Yeah.
whether it be like taking the E out of DI, so it's just diversity and inclusion, and taking out the equity of it, which doesn't make sense because
Hmm.
that's how we progress, that's how we grow. Or these like very negative conversations about the fact that there's an agenda that
Yeah.
that that we have secretly, and we want to push for certain ideals or certain opinions and things like that. And
Hmm.
at least as Latinx and gaming stands, like, we don't have a hidden agenda. We
Yeah.
don't have anything that we want to push other than like, how can we help developers out there, or content creators,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody who's like adjacent to the games industry, succeed and grow through the community that we have built over the last 7 years, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's all about helping each other. It's all about seeing how we can connect people so that they have what they need, or
Hmm.
have a conversation with somebody that may help them, right? So to us, yes, there's challenges. We see the threads on social
Yeah.
media.
Of course. Yeah.
Some of the stuff is like we can't get involved with, right? Because as an org, we have to stay neutral in certain conversations just because of the politics of it all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are still an organization that has a board of directors, and like, they advise us on certain things. We have a legal team that advise us on certain things. So we have to be careful in choosing our battles of like where we want to say something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, we see those that are struggling, we see the things that are happening around us, and we just
Mhm.
want to make the world a better place, even if
Yeah.
that's just putting our own little grain of sand. It may not feel like a lot, it may not sound like it's a big deal, but you never know in a few years' time what that little grain of sand may have become, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it actually ended up being part of like a sandy beach, and you never would have thought, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, it's been a tough year for many reasons, many aspects, but there's still work need to be done, and we're not gonna allow those obstacles to stop us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if our base, one of our base missions is just to give more opportunities to people from our community, opportunities in game dev, or to take them from that associate to mid-level. It's just like it's mentorship, it's education, it's exposure. And I
Yes.
hope that those topics aren't as vile for some people out there, but you can't
Yes.
control those opinions. But kind of piggybacking off what you said here, and I think you covered some of this in your initial answer, but there's more legislation around all of this in the space and in tech as well. And listen, changing environment, do you see us like adapting in different ways, maybe pivoting our content or our focus? How are we going to adapt and evolve with these new kind of things happening
Yeah, that's a hard thing to try to figure out, because
today? Yeah.
then, yeah, today, right? I think it's a team effort, and it's also getting again the advice from our board of directors, because they have been in the industry for so long,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
they really have seen the ebbs and flows and the highs and
Yeah.
lows over the past, maybe 15, 20, 25
Yeah. Yeah.
years. So I think we will lean on them for sure when it comes to figuring out a plan for the next couple of years.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, regardless of what's happening anywhere, we still want to do good. So what does good look like?
Mm.
It's something that we need to figure out, right? If that means more education to really help with people with mentorships, or
Yeah.
help people connect to specific programs that will help them in their academic career with financing, or I don't know, push that game that they want to make so that they can release and finally have something out there under their belt. There's so many different ways
Yeah.
by which to do good and to have impact. So we just need to sit down as a team and articulate what that means for us in the next couple of years. Um, but I don't think our vision and our mission changes
Changes.
because the world is changing or because politics are changing. We just
Hmm.
have to adapt to specific hurdles and challenges that may arise due to those politics and changes. But we're still going to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, we got to keep it
We'll
moving.
find
Yeah.
a way. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll find a way. We always have, and that's part of like our DNA as being like Latinas. Like we are hardworking. When we see obstacles, we find solutions. We always
Yeah.
figure out how to overcome those things, and that's what makes us so strong and resilient, as a community,
Yeah.
because we know what it is to go through hell and back, some
Yeah.
more than others. But I think that is such a strong character trait that we have, that we
Mhm.
don't see challenges as like, okay, this is the end of the road for me.
It's like,
There's
I'll
no
show
way,
you.
there's no
Let
way
me
to
show
go.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. Let me show you what I can do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. So now I want to pivot a little bit more to kind of the warm fuzzies in a sense, because, developers that are our friends or that are in the industry, what are ways that we can maybe support them, help them out, people from all backgrounds, because this is one of those times where I think we do need to lean on each other more in this specific moment in game dev history. So, do you have any thoughts about, like how we can support each other and how we can help raise each other up during these times?
Yeah, so for different circumstances, I find different means to do. And this is me personally, how I
Yeah.
have come to do this. So when it comes to supporting other developers, like boosting, like when they say, "Hey, please wish list our game," actually getting a chance to purchase their
Hmm.
game. If it's not a game for you, maybe gift it to someone that will
Hmm.
like it. But yes, like the financial aspect of it is so incredibly important when we say we want to support developers, because it makes a huge difference, right? What
Hmm.
ends up getting into their balances, whether it be as a studio or as solo developers. So that's really important. Um, Definitely sharing, like being that mouthpiece where you can share people's games, you can share initiatives that different developers are a part of. Like all of that is relative. So I say just get active, get out there, get involved in the community. If like you
Hmm.
really are inspired to make a difference too and like help with what you got, don't be afraid to reach out to Latinx and gaming. Like we always take in those emails for folks that want to volunteer. We always try to figure something out. Of
Hmm.
course, there's a process to do that, right?
Hmm.
But we always are with open arms and like open hearts to like allow people to help if they want to do that. And I also encourage other folks to just get involved with other orgs that are doing great work. Latinx and
Hmm.
gaming is not the only one.
Yeah.
We are our friends at Black and Gaming Foundation. They're doing great work as well.
Hmm.
Our friends at AAPI in gaming as well are just starting up and doing really great work. Game heads as well who look for mentors to help young people learn game design and game development. Like there's so many opportunities for you to get involved and make a difference. And we are all these orgs that I mentioned are all interconnected. We all talk
Yeah.
to each other and we help each other anyway. So just because you may not lean on just Latinx and gaming doesn't mean that you're not partnering with us. By working with Big F or by working with AAPI and gaming, you're actually helping each other because we're all involved. We're all doing this together. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just get involved, make a difference where you can, and really try your best if you can, of course, because we know that not everybody can afford buying games, especially in this
Yeah.
economy. Um, but there's a lot of different ways to support too, and that is social boosting and
Hmm.
sharing. Like that is free. Just doing a retweet or
A
reposting
comment, a like.
something.
Yeah.
Yes, giving a like, giving a comment to give visibility to those games and those developers that are working and
Hmm.
chasing after their dreams.
That same thing with your friends maybe looking for roles too. You can retweet that thing,
Yes,
you could share that post,
absolutely.
all that
Yes,
stuff. Support each
yes.
other, right?
And
If
even if they're not your friends
Yeah.
and they're looking for a job,
Yeah, just
just share it. Just
help
be
out
like, hey, this
everyone. Yeah.
person, help this person out, please. Like it's
Yeah.
all if we all help each other and we would be more compassionate and like put
Hmm.
ourselves in each other's shoes, I think we would see so much more good happen around us.
Yeah, yeah, like on your portfolio, right? If it was a group project, you can link to the other people in your project's portfolio too, and
Yes.
use that tide to raise all those ships. And so, speaking about that support, if someone was like, "What's the fastest, most immediate way that I could start helping and supporting Latinx and gaming today?" What would those things be? Is there like a
I
quick
would
list?
say I don't know if there's a quick list, especially now that the year of 2024 is ending and we're trying to figure out
Mm,
okay, what comes next.
yeah.
But I would say just get plugged in to our LinkedIn, which is our fastest growing platform right now,
Hmm.
and we're always reposting there all the events, initiatives, and programs that we have, but also reposting jobs and mentorship opportunities there too.
Hmm.
So I think that would be a great way if you want to like stay plugged in and to know like what's happening with our organization. LinkedIn and X Twitter is like where we constantly stay active in sharing things. And of course our Discord channel. We
Hmm.
really want to continue to make good use of it and figure out how to get more of the staff involved and like creating I don't know, events and things and in the channels. So we'll figure it
Hmm.
out for 2025. But definitely, that's another community in there that we have with thousands of developers from all over the US and Latin America, and even all over the world. Latinas that are
Hmm.
in Europe and Asia and Canada. So definitely plug in there. And try to form bonds with some folks out there who may be going through something that you're going through too, and that way you have a little bit of a support system.
So that's the like maybe the quicker way, or the you can join a Discord, you can follow us on
Hmm.
LinkedIn or on social platforms. That's an easy thing to do, right? If someone wanted
Yes.
to go above and beyond to really contribute to maybe our future, our success, was there anything that they can do to kind of start getting that ball rolling?
Yes, so they would like to contribute, but specifically financially.
Yeah.
Our website has a donate button that you can
Hmm.
go to, and you can donate whatever you would like. And if there's any streams or things like that that happen during Hispanic Heritage Month, you can also donate through streams like that sometimes that we have those opportunities available. Um, and even just a quick email too. We have had that happen as well where we will get an email saying, "Hey, I would love to donate to the cause for Latinx and gaming. How can I get that ball rolling?" And we figure it out that way too.
Yeah. If your leads and managers are talking about, oh, things that they could potentially do with their budgets, maybe the above and beyond would be, pinging them that we exist, not pestering them about it, but just saying,
Yes.
hey, hey, here's this organization. I don't know if you know about them, but if you're passionate about us and about
Mhm.
giving back to your community or helping out, you could definitely find ways to get your company interested, involved, and like Elaine said, email us. Like we'd be happy to
Yes.
talk about anything we could do together, obviously. Um, so you've been in the industry for a while now, Lane, and I wanted to
Mhm.
just ask, do you have any advice for someone maybe starting out that career or thinking if they should get into games? Like even the question this year, should they even want to, right? Like
Yeah.
what are your feelings?
Yeah. My feelings are that if you're really passionate about it and you see yourself building a career out of games, like you should chase after those dreams and
Hmm.
aspirations. But those things don't come overnight. It takes a
Hmm.
while. It took me, even with education, it took me a few years to land my
Hmm.
first role. And I've known of people who have gotten laid off that have years of experience at big AAA studios, and it took them more than a year to land their roles again, even with
Hmm.
experience. So it's a tough and challenging space, but so is every other field. It's
Hmm.
not easy to just get a job wherever, right?
Yeah, to be a doctor
Not even in
or
retail. Like
yeah,
not even
yeah,
in retail. Like
yeah.
we all are competing for to be able to like live and pay our bills, right?
Hmm.
But I would say if you want to get into games, yes, there are certain skill sets that set you apart. Building a portfolio is important. That's the way by which you said you share your voice and like your style with
Hmm.
the people like the hiring managers and the recruiters. So I would say if you don't know where to start and you want to get into games, start like learning a little bit about what game development actually is,
Hmm.
because you'd be surprised at all the different disciplines and different branches and avenues that you can take that are still involved in the creation of making games. So that
Yeah.
is legal and like human resources and like operations and IT. Like
IT, yeah.
there's so many different branches that a studio needs to run
Hmm.
that is not necessarily involved in the game engine. But if you are interested in actually being on the team that is in the game engine or creating content for the game itself, try to figure out where your not your skill sets but also just your interests lie.
Excitement.
If it's
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
art, if it's in programming, if it's in design, and then from there try to really figure out like what are those qualities and what are those things that I really need to know and understand to be a good artist or to be a
Mhm.
good engineer. And there's so much free information on YouTube out there.
Yep.
Really great channels like the Game Developers Toolkit, which is a great
Yeah.
channel that I really enjoy watching, to give you like the breadth of like, wow, like what's the type of stuff that you really, really need to know and understand because it is an art form to make games. And it takes time. So you don't have to make the world's greatest game in your first shot. Like my game was really crappy, my very, very first game. But you got to start somewhere. So
Hmm.
definitely there's several books and there's free materials out there on the internet that
Hmm.
detail about game development, game design, what's it like working at a game studio, like what's a day to day
Hmm.
for a game developer. And don't be shy to reach out to people on LinkedIn and social media because most people are very, very kind and would be willing to like set a time like 30 minutes to chat with you about their job, what they do, how they got into games.
Hmm.
So like just use social media to your advantage as well. Like for example, me, I'm always available on social media platforms to like tell people about how to get into game design, how I got there. I specifically specialize in gameplay design, so like that's a specialization under game design.
Hmm.
So like if some people are interested in gameplay design specifically, yes, I can share with you some skills that are needed, some books that would be great to read, some games that are good to analyze, just to get your head in that space of design and development. But yeah, there is no one size fits solution to get into the industry.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like where is your heart leading you? Where do
Hmm.
you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years? And then trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to get there?
Hmm.
And if I don't know, let me reach out to people that do know and that could point me in the right direction.
Yeah, totally. Because these days, I fully agree with you on the technology front. Just like it's easier than ever to start, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of things that kind of make you feel really good about like, oh, hey, I'm doing this, but you do got to dedicate the time to it. You got to put in your 10,000
Right.
hours to take that, a little bit of muster into the mastery, right? And you got to kind of learn
Yes,
all of that for sure. So,
exactly.
but you can do it. It's attainable. Find that like target and then chase that target and that goal. So,
Very much so.
last question for today. We, it's kind of hard to project, with how this year's going, where we're going to be. But if you were to say this is like something you want us to accomplish in maybe the next 3 to 5 years, are there any big things on the board that you're like, yes, that's your target that you're chasing for us?
Yes, well, my target is on the education side, but with and this is something that I haven't even shared with the other staff. This is like me ideating and doing research. Um, and thankfully, I have somebody, a volunteer, that is helping me do this research too in the back
Mm,
end. But what we are trying to figure out is how can we partner with different governments and figure out programs that exist
mhm,
in different countries, including the United States, that we can perhaps partner with so that we could provide resources to
mhm,
developers, whether that be workshops like understanding how to do specific things,
mhm,
whether that be ways to figure out how to tap into developer kits for specific consoles, seeing if the government can sponsor in any way all over Latin America and stuff like that. So
mhm,
there are some countries that are doing that work already, and there are some orgs that are doing that work as well. So trying to figure out who those people are, where the contacts are, where could we fit in so that we could really start making uh, a different type of impact. Because to me, that's like on a huge level when you're like working with whether it be a federation or a cabinet in government, it's a
mhm.
little bit more than work than we have ever done before.
Yeah.
Um, but it could really mean the world of a difference in changing the way that industries work in specific countries in favor of game developers.
Mm,
And that includes like even having something like a game development fund. Like, what does that look like at a
yeah.
federal level that
Hmm.
people can apply to, and that there's a pool of money there for folks that are making games in specific countries, that they can get, stipends, or they can get some tax deductions or things
Hmm.
like that. So trying to figure out what those conversations look like. And that's going to take a very, very long time. So we're talking about 5 years. Maybe the impact would be one country. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe that can be the model that we could use, and the case study that we can use to then
Hmm.
go around to other countries and say like, hey, like this works. This method works. This approach works. Here's the data. And let's figure out a way that you can help your own developers so that they don't have to go to the US or Canada
Hmm.
or the UK. They can stay in Guatemala or Costa Rica, wherever they live, and can still make games, and the country that they're at supports them in creating that
Hmm.
work and bringing that income into the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like big, big hopes, big, big
Big
goals,
picture. Yeah.
big, big picture stuff. But I think it is possible because there's already work being done out there that is very similar, and we can just open up conversations with the people doing that work and see how we can work together.
I love it. So I know I made a call to billionaires before, so now I'm making a call to government officials. If you want to
You're
help
right.
us out, please get in touch. You can email us. The email's on the website, latinxandgaming.com. You can follow us on socials. You can follow us on LinkedIn, like we were saying. We're growing things there. Join our Discord, all of that. But Elaine, thank you so much for your time. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month to everyone. Any final words before we get out of here today?
Just thank y'all so much for keeping this org alive. Like, we're here because you're here,
Hmm.
really, truly. So we're really appreciative of everybody who is constantly active in our discords and socials, and constantly wanting to connect with us. So we appreciate you all very, very much, and hope you have an incredible Hispanic Heritage Month. We're here to celebrate you.
Yeah.
And I hope you continue to enjoy the rest of what we have. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. What a great way to, kind of kick off the Hispanic Heritage Month. You made an offer for people to kind of, reach out to you about game dev stuff, right? I will make the
Yes.
same offer if you need a resume review. I'm a recruiter in the games industry. I will do the same. I will help you out. I'll talk with you and try and get you in a spot to get those roles. But thank you so much for watching, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.